Hey, good evening. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, is crypto in a bubble? Before we get started on that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Corey Moore, aka Corey Stones, and we're going to talk about the crypto bubble. And it's something that, if you've been paying attention to the crypto space, you've probably heard that term over and over and over. And it's been something that you've been seeing the question in tabloids and in reports and all the other media attention that's been given to cryptocurrencies. You've been seeing that as it relates to Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Is crypto in a bubble? And the short answer is yes. And before I get into the specifics of that, I want to just make clear that all of this in this video is my personal opinion and not financial advice. And so everybody talks about bubbles and crypto, and is that a bad thing, or it's necessarily a bad thing, right? Everybody talks about the bubble bursting and it's a bad thing. People are going to lose money and it's going to be a bad thing. So I saw an article today, and I've been staying involved in the crypto space for a while, and I try to keep up with it daily. And I saw an article today that sparked an interesting concept in my mind, and I thought it was very valuable information that I wanted to share overall and the general consensus and summary of the article. The article was talking about all the different bubbles over recent history. And of course, you have the tulip bubble that you hear a lot of people talk about, going back to the Netherlands. Then you hear people talk about the dot-com bubble, the most recent bubble. Then you probably don't hear a lot of people talking about the railway bubble going back to 1825 in Europe, and the massive, influx of money and innovation towards the railroad industry. Though these four bubbles, or now the fourth being crypto, these four bubbles are the bubbles that everybody talks about over the most recent history, and the big bubbles that you hear people comparing to. None of those bubbles have disappeared. None of those bubbles have gone away. And today, the dot-com is still a thriving industry. The tulips, still a thriving industry. The railroads, still a thriving industry. So with crypto being the most recent bubble, it's important to talk about the positives in the bubble. And if you've been paying attention with the price action of Bitcoin and some of the other altcoins recently, you've seen that there's been a massive drop in the price, really a dive bomb. I mean, some of Bitcoin's been down 25% over the last 2 or 3 days, and a lot of the altcoins have been down. Things are starting to turn around a little bit now, but things took a dive just over the last 24 to 48 hours. So people were thinking, oh, the bubble's bursting, right? And they forget about the positives that come with the bubble. And the article that I was reading today was summarizing this and talking about that the bubble is creating a massive amount of craze and mania towards a new industry. With that craze and mania becomes innovation and money. A lot of what's driving that is greed. People see their neighbors getting rich, and they see the other, people investing in this new industry, creating the bubble as something they want to participate in, and it's greed. And a little bit of greed is okay to drive this industry, because with that greed, you have innovation and you have money that's brought to the table to advance the framework of the industry as a whole. And so without the bubble, without the craze, without the initial drive and influx of people into the bubble that's creating, you don't have the framework to be built for future generations and future projects to develop on. So the people who create that bubble are the people that are the first pioneers and first adopters and first, people to really grab the opportunity and the advancement by the horns to capitalize on it. If you're smart and if you educate yourself on the industry, then you can be in a position where you can make decisions that put you in positions to be better off if the bubble does burst. Because the bubble bursting is a term referred to money pulling in and out. Well, when the market loses $100 billion in 2 days, is that considered the bubble bursting? Because that happens pretty frequently over the course of the crypto month. And so when you're talking about the bubble bursting, that's a relative term. And if you've bought at the highs, you should be concerned with the bubble bursting. If you bought at the lows and you've educated yourself, then you should be in a position where you're better off when the bubble does burst. Because if it bursts and when it bursts, markets turn around. These big bubbles that we've talked about have only thrived after the quote unquote bubble. So I think it's important to remember the positives when you're thinking about a crypto bubble or a bubble in general, and think about what type of innovation and advancements and opportunity for future growth and expansion starts with that bubble. And without that bubble, you don't have those next phases. And I hope that that leaves you with a good thought and a different perspective. Crypto is going nowhere. Be smart and do your research, make good decisions so that you can be in the best positions when markets shift and things dive. You're not taking massive losses because you were smart with your entry points. Again, this is my opinion, not financial advice. My name is Corey Moore, aka Corey Stones. If you like what you've seen, if you like what you've heard, please click subscribe. Be a part of our YouTube community. We're talking about all kind of cool content, including cryptocurrencies, investments, real estate, mountain biking, snowboarding, traveling. The list goes on. Have a great night.